Hey guys, it's Kyle Thompson here with the Throstmeyer Real Estate Group, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over the costs associated with buying a home. Everyone knows that you need to come up with a down payment, but there are also closing costs. These can vary drastically depending on what type of property you're buying and certain conditions. So in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down what are closing costs, when do they apply to different situations, so that you know how much you're going to need to save up in your specific situation. As always, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below or reach out to me directly. I'll put all my contact info in the description. Let's start off with the big one that everybody knows about, and that's your down payment. The minimum down payment on a property is 5% on the first $500,000, 10% on the portion between $500,000 and $1 million. If property is over $1 million, then it's a flat 20%. That's only if the property is your primary residence though. If it's an investment property or a secondary residence, you will have to put down 20%. Next up, we have property transfer tax. Property transfer tax is 1% on the first $200,000, 2% on the portion between $200,000 and $2 million, 3% on the portion of the purchase price over between $2 million and $3 million, and 5% on any portion of the purchase price over $3 million. Now, if you're a first-time home buyer and the property that you're buying is under $500,000, as long as you meet the criteria, then you should be exempt from paying property transfer tax. However, if the property is over $500,000, you may get a partial exemption between $500,000 and $525,000, but anything over $525,000, you will have to pay property transfer tax, even if it's your first time. If you're a foreign buyer and you're buying in certain areas, then there is also a 20% foreign buyer's tax. That applies to most of the lower mainland and the island, as well as the Okanagan. As of the date that I'm making this video, there is no foreign buyer's tax in Kamloops, so if you're looking for an investment property, this is a great area to do so. Next up, we have GST. GST is 5% of the purchase price, unless the property that you're buying is $450,000 or less. If it is, you'll either get a 36% rebate, or you'll get a partial rebate if the purchase price is between $350,000 and $450,000. However, it's becoming increasingly more difficult to find new properties at $450,000 or less, so chances are you're going to end up having to pay the full 5%. There is also an exemption from paying property transfer tax if you buy a new property, but only if the purchase price is under $850,000. If the purchase price is under $800,000, you get the full exemption, but if the purchase price is between $800,000 and $850,000, you only get a partial exemption. If the purchase price is over $850,000, then you'll have to pay both property transfer tax and GST. Next up, I'm going to be covering the costs associated with the transaction itself. This list isn't all-encompassing, and depending on certain circumstances, there may be additional costs. These, however, are the most common. First up, we have conveyancing. This is where a lawyer or a notary switches everything from the old owner into your name. I called around Kamloops to find out what this costs, and the ballpark was between $1,350 and $1,800. If you're buying leasehold property like up in Sun Rivers on the Indian land, it is more expensive, so expect to pay about $3,000 if that's the route that you decide to take. Next up, we have title insurance. Most lenders will require that you get title insurance in order for you to get a mortgage. Fortunately, the cost is only generally between $250 to $300 on properties under $1 million. That brings us to appraisals. If you're putting 20% or more down on the property, then you're going to be on the hook to pay for an appraisal yourself. If you're putting less than 20% down, then there's a good chance that the mortgage default insurance provider will pay for the appraisal. If not, you're on the hook for about $400 to $700. Then there's home insurance. Lenders will require you to get home insurance in order to process your mortgage. Depending on the property and what type of insurance you get, the cost of this can fluctuate quite a bit, but in Kamloops, I tell people to expect to pay between $1,000 and $3,000 generally. Next up, we have adjustments. Adjustments are your portion of the property taxes that will be owed for the year. So if you buy in March, then you're going to be on the hook for 3/4 of the year. If you buy at the end of June, you'll be on the hook for 6 months, etc. The amount owed for property taxes can change a lot depending on the property, but I did look it up, and the median price for property taxes on properties under $1 million in Kamloops was between $3,000 and $4,000. So expect to pay at least a portion of that. Finally, we have home inspections. While home inspections aren't required, they are one of the best protections that buyers can have when purchasing a new property, so I always suggest that people have them done. The average cost of a home inspection in Kamloops is about $500 to $600. That's it. Those are the most common costs associated with buying properties in BC. As I mentioned before, these aren't necessarily an all-encompassing list, and in certain circumstances, there may be other fees. If you are unsure if property transfer tax or GST or even a foreign buyer's tax applies to you, I do always suggest talking to an accountant to make sure that there are no nasty surprises on the completion date. I really hope that you got some value out of this video. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing to our YouTube channel, and be sure to check out Throstmeyer on all of our other social medias. I'll put all of the links in the description. Thanks for watching.